Hello and welcome to the Vintage Semifinals. I'm Randy Bueller here with Chris Pakula. We're going to watch a couple of Philly locals, Greg Fenton on Oath of Druids versus Joel Lim on Fish. So Greg went first, played a fetch land. Joel is gone island, Curse Catcher. Now, Greg's Oath of Druids deck, we've seen some combo oaths, but this is very much control. There are fully, what did we count, 15, 16 counterspells in that deck?
Right.
You know, he wants to counter everything, and then his Oath of Druids can go get a couple of Grizzlebrands.
We saw a deck similar to this really early in the day. It feels like an eternity ago.
All right, Greg is going to strip mine that island. I think maybe he knows Joel's a little mana light with that deck. Joel does play Cavern of Souls, so I'm a little bit, I mean, Greg might have wanted to keep the strip to potentially get a counter.
I think Greg is
cavern.
hoping for like a free win here. Like that strip mine is like a pure...
Yeah, he's like, he rolled the D20.
Right,
you know, if they roll a 1,
right,
dead.
let's hope that was his only land kind of thing. Greg's hand is, I think, Force of Will.
Yeah, it's a bunch of Force of Wills.
Force of Will, Show and Tell, Time Walk.
Wow, and he's right. He's right. There was only one land in that hand.
Yeah, and that's...
Oh, he stripped the only island.
And now he's got
just drew Oath of Druids. Oh my goodness!
Now he's not going to be able to protect this with a Force of Will because of the Curse Catcher. So if Joel has Force of Will in his hand, he's going to be able to...
Right, but Curse Catcher only makes instants and sorceries pay one more?
No, but if Joel has Force of Will...
No, I get it. But I mean, he can play the Oath into it, is my point.
Right. But
he can just play the Oath, but he can't defend it with Force of Will.
I would probably wait a turn to cast the Oath.
So that you can defend it with Force and pay for Curse Catcher? It's not like you're under a lot of pressure.
Right.
I mean, your opponent is attacking for 1 and has no lands.
So we'll see if Greg agrees with me. I just don't see the point of running into Force of Will when you don't have to. I believe he has another land, but maybe I'm wrong. If he doesn't have another land, then he probably has to
then you're not going to wait until you top deck a land. If he's got the third land, I like your line. If he doesn't, then you just go for Oath here.
The only thing that could hurt is if it's his only green land and he gets strip mined, wastelanded. It's his only land, so he has to. I think he's just gonna go ahead and cast it.
All right. Oath of Druids.
My guess is Joel has Force of Will. You don't keep a 1-land hand with no Force of Will. I haven't seen his hand, but it's
hard. He gets a token from Forbidden Orchard. He's gonna Time Walk here.
I'm gonna try to get the third land the old-fashioned way.
And now Curse Catcher could have countered Time Walk.
Yeah,
and chose not to.
I'm a little surprised.
I am too.
Well, maybe I'm not surprised. I mean, it's a lot faster clock.
All right. Did not draw the land, but goes for Oath. Does Joel have a Force of Will?
He's got her.
Yes, he does.
No, yeah, he has.
Second from the bottom. I believe that's a
I
Force of Will.
wasn't sure if it was Lord of Atlantis has a little bit of the same coloration as a Force of Will. So I wasn't sure there. So there we go.
All right. So Joel has Force of Will. Greg would love to be able to Force of Will back, but all it would do is eat a Curse Catcher. Oh, he's going to do it. Really? Doesn't this just get Curse Catchers? Is this like, do you see it?
Does he have a second Force of Will? Is that why? He has a second Force, right? Well, he doesn't have a blue card. Oh, he does.
Oh, he
have a blue card. Yeah, he has
does.
a Show and Tell.
Second Force and Show and Tell.
All right.
Wow, so that Oath of Druids cost him 5 cards, but you know what? Totally worth it.
Yeah.
100% worth it. All those cards are going to get replaced next turn by Grizzlebrand.
I don't, once again, Joel with a keep that
You don't like the 1 island keep?
it seems tough. I mean,
Island,
that's
Force
a
of Will.
really slow clock. I mean, obviously he got unlucky to have the 1 strip mine.
Right. All right, Joel attacks with the 2 guys. Greg is at 14. He's going to untap. He's going to activate Oath of Druids. His opponent has more creatures than he does, so he gets to flip over cards until he finds a creature. And we know there's not a whole lot of randomness here. There's just 2 Grizzlebrands. So Grizzlebrand comes out. He gets his draw phase. I think he would just draw 7 here, but some people just say go and slow roll the cards. Yeah, Greg didn't figure he was going to do much else, so he's not going to mess around with his life total yet. He'll untap. He could have oathed again. He just chose not. Oh, it's a legend. He doesn't want to oath again.
Don't want to
Sorry.
oath again. So now.
So attacks
with
Grizzlebrand. Now he's at 21.
He really isn't.
I mean,
drawing
he probably doesn't need the extra cards to win. All he really needs to do is attack 3 times.
Man,
I would have drawn 7. It just made me feel better to have.
Well, especially because you have Yawgmoth's Will and Time Walk in your graveyard. Just seems like get the 5 mana and end it.
Yeah.
But it's obviously over anyway. This is
it's not like Joel has an answer to this Grizzlebrand.
This is not really the interesting game I was hoping for. There we go.
Now it's time. All right, fine. We'll draw 7.
So
Soul Ring, Yawgmoth's Will, Time Walk?
Yeah, because he gets the pearl.
Yeah, and Yawgmoth's Will, Time Walk and end it, right?
Yeah, that's, I mean,
I guess you could run into a Force of Will somehow.
nope, doesn't want to play that way.
No problem.
All
Joel
right,
scoops him up
so
anyway,
quick
yeah.
game one. So Joel gets a little unlucky, runs into the lone strip mine, and
Yep,
Greg,
loses his
Greg decided to play it for like the,
Yeah, he just went for it on turn 2, too.
Yeah.
Was that a Soul Read? Was that,
No, I think
you
it's
know
just
your opponent's Mana Light?
I mean, he has no other reason. He doesn't have another play. He didn't have a.
His other play, he can pay for Curse Catcher mana when he tries to cast Oath of Druids.
True.
Strip Mine can tap for mana.
Yeah, he could have played it that way.
He turns on Spell Pierce, which I think was in Joel's hand, so I don't think that's any better. It's probably worse.
No, Joel does not.
But
have
Strip Mine
Spell
does tap for mana. I missaw something. It's not a Spell
Yeah.
Pierce. So what is his permission set? Just the Force of Wills?
Days, mental
2 days.
misstep. So yeah, let's talk about sideboarding here. So Joel, the big card here, he has 4 Grafdigger's Cage, which obviously is the big,
Against
big
the
thing
Oath
in this
player,
matchup.
his whole plan is to cheat creatures into play from the library. So
And he also
4
has,
times Cage in.
Now I don't know how he probably can't do the Ghost Quarters because
There is 2 basic islands
right and a
on the other
Fen-
side.
He probably knows that, so he's probably really just bringing in the 4 cages. I would guess that he'll bring him in for Steel Sabotage, and maybe the Marrow Regeries.
Flusterstorm's fine. Misstep's fine.
Yep.
Days is
True name
reasonable.
True name Nemesis also not exciting in this matchup.
Might be a little slow.
But everything else.
He's basically got to turn off Oaths. Like, his deck can't work if Greg has an Oath. So 4 cages come in. He's
Right.
got to fight. If
well, he actually can beat an Oath because
you think he can swarm Grizzlebrand?
Well, you can. Gristlebrand can't block.
Is it just Lord of Atlantis against Island Walk, or does
No,
the new one do it
the
too?
new one does it as
New one
well.
does it too.
So if Gristlebrand can't block, it's a big difference.
Still 7 power lifelink attacking.
Right. True, but it all depends on what life you're at when you're Oath, right?
Yeah, I guess. I'm still pretty sure I'd rather be on the Oath side of this matchup.
I'm not disagreeing which side. I'm not sure which side would be on. You're possibly you're right, but it's definitely not a blowout.
Okay. And it is a 17 counter Oath deck. I keep changing the number every time I add it up.
That's a lot of counters.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15 counter Oath deck against 4 times Caverner's Soul.
Right. So
I don't think I don't think Greg can win without Oath.
Greg is. Oh no, Greg. Well, he has Show and Tell. Greg is probably going to bring in the Show and Tell. The extra Abrupt Decay could come in. And
Probably. Yeah, I like the Abrupt
maybe,
Decay.
And probably the Forest because he's playing against a 4 Wasteland 1 Strip Mine deck. And
Sure.
he's just going to take out the Misdirection, the
Mindbreak Trap.
the Mindbreak Trap, and I don't know what he does with his counters.
Yeah, I'm not sure the 3rd Show and Tell comes in.
No?
Well, is it better than a counterspell?
I mean, if you're playing against 4 Grafdigger's Cage, you need another way to get that Gristlebrand into play.
Yeah, okay. I'll buy that. Yeah, Grafdigger's Cage kind of seems like it should stop Show and Tell, and it just doesn't. Nobody knows exactly what Grafdigger's Cage does. It's kind of
true.
weird. It does these weird
It
things.
definitely does not stop Show.
It kind of feels like you can't cheat creatures into play, but
So
you
I
can't
guess
cheat creatures into play from libraries or graveyards. Cheating them in from
your hand is just
Show
fine.
and Tell,
You
just
can,
fine.
You can through the breach through a Grafdigger's Cage. You
Yeah.
can Show and Tell. Yeah, so not a ton of sideboarding in this matchup.
Nope, not much.
Yeah, this Merfolk deck is really tight on mana.
Yeah, it's like 14 blue sources, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 15. if you
The
count-
15th
if
is
you
the
count
Lotus. Yeah, I was counting the Sapphire just to get to 14.
Yeah.
13 lands, Sapphire, and a Lotus. His Null Rods are fine in this matchup, right?
Yes,
He's happy to
he
turn
is-
off all Greg's artifact mana.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have enough cards. I think it's worth it. I mean, Greg does have the full set. And he has Time Vault Voltaic.
Oh, right. Yeah, definitely Null Rod. I mean, that's kind of the space where this deck lives in the metagame, right? He's like, I'm going to mess up all
this is a
your
Null Rod
mana.
deck, no question.
I'm a Null Rod deck. I've got 4 Wastelands, a Strip Mine, 3 Null Rods. I'm just going to, hopefully, you can't cast your spells. And if you can't cast your spells, you're going to die to just this swarm of
Right.
quick, cheap fish.
And against creature decks, it wins by piling up those lords into play, which get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yep.
Waterfront Bouncer, surprisingly annoying in this matchup.
Yes, Waterfront Bouncer is very good in this matchup.
Well, Black Lotus and Greg's opening hand. But Mystery still has the misdirection. Just using it as a straight Force of Will to counter Force of Will. That's really all it does.
Right.
It's a Force of Will for Force of Will.
You can redirect a counter back onto itself. Are these keepers?
So,
I mean, Black Lotus part was exciting, but he didn't have anything to Lotus out.
well,
right?
he has a Gristlebrand, which means that he's
Nope.
setting it home. Which means at least if it's going to be show and tell, it's a reasonable opener. But Joel kept his hand, which looks like. What are his lands?
They're foil. That's all
I've kind of
got.
been fascinated with his keeps in the two matches we've seen. It's kind of been difficult for me to predict what he's going to keep and what he's going to mulligan. Yeah, I don't know, Greg. All I know is for sure that he had a Gristlebrand and a Lotus and some other artifact mana and a misdirection. Which I don't really think you can just mulligan into an Oath. You just don't have enough. So Oath decks.
All right, Needle, Force, Will, Tropical.
One of the issues
Vault,
with Oath
Ancestral.
decks
That's a good one.
in
That
Vintage
hand's
is
totally
that.
fine.
Yeah. I mean, he has Ancestral Recall and Force of Will. So Oath decks in Vintage, their problem historically has been that they can't play any of the traditional draw engines that Vintage decks play. You can't play Dark Confidant because you can't play creatures.
Right.
You can't play Gush because you have 4 of your lands are these Forbidden Orchards.
Right.
So these, those are the kind of spells that people.
Does he just what did he name? Did he name Curse Catcher?
Wow, maybe.
I mean,
That's really. I guess he brings it in for Waterfront Bouncer. Is that,
Good.
Or for maybe.
yeah, I think he's gonna name Curse Catcher.
Or maybe if he brings it in for Wastelands. I don't know what made him bring that in, but
And he gets it. Oh, we don't even get to find out. He got misstepped. We'll never know.
so yeah, Oath decks historically in Vintage just don't have a great kind of
And there's the Wasteland.
card that smooths your draws. You can
Yeah,
play
Wasteland probably would have been the right name if it had
Right.
resolved, but yeah, Needling Wasteland seems good in this matchup. Sorry, yes, Oath decks don't have great card draw engines. They tend
Yeah.
not to be. They tend to be less consistent than the other control decks for that reason.
I forget who someone used to play Oath with Night's Whisper in their deck. But Night's Whisper, when you're giving your opponents 1/1 creatures every time you cast it, is also a little sketchy.
Curse Catcher comes over for another one.
There's Cavern.
Cavern of Souls, naming Merfolk. And a Null Rod.
So
Which resolves. There's Forbidden Orchard. And here's the Ancestral that he's been setting up.
wow.
Oh, second mental misstep.
Yeah.
This game's going a lot better for Joel than the last one.
Yeah, although he's still. I
Still only a 1/1
I
for
can't tell
pressure.
his hand because of the foils, but I'm not sure if is he just going to lose to a Oath off the top.
Usually. There's a Gristlebrand in hand. Mana Drain. Is that Force of Will? Joel draws. And he's only got the 1/1 little beater. Second Cavern.
Another reason why the Oath decks sort of have to play the show and tells is if they draw both Gristlebrands, that's it. Like old Oath decks used to always play 3 creatures to really make it impossible to draw all the creatures.
You have a Brainstorm.
Right, you have 1 Brainstorm and 2 Jace. But that's
Right,
not
so
a
you kind
ton.
of-
So it's kind of like
It's enough to only need 2 creatures, I believe. Curse Catcher keeps going. Only need 15 more turns. Backup Null Rod. Well, Greg's not going to be doing his Time Vault plan.
I wonder if Joel takes out creatures for these Grafdigger's Cages. Well, he hasn't drawn a Grafdigger's Cage, but there's the basic forest.
which we predicted would come in from the sideboard. And yeah, he got a land wasted. Kind of happy to have another one.
Yeah, now next turn he's going to be able to cast Yawgmoth's Will, play a land and Ancestral out of the graveyard. Not bad as far as, although Curse Catcher can screw that up, but it's not bad as far as value goes.
Yeah.
But now,
Silvergill Adept, revealing Reejerey. So he gets to draw a card and add a creature to his board.
I can't force it will this, so I'm not sure what Greg's thinking.
Yeah, it's off a cavern. So Joel's been slow rolling one of those. Presumably he had the Adept and wasn't going to cast it until he had a creature to reveal.
Well, he can't cast it unless he has a creature
Oh,
to reveal,
right. Sorry.
Is that how it works?
I thought it was
Oh,
revealed
he
to
draws
draw.
the card.
I thought he only gets the card.
You're right. I think. But so now is he going to image the Curse Catcher or the card drawer?
Oh, it's the card is -3. Yeah, he has to have the Merfolk to
Right.
cast it. You're right.
So
Soul Ring, which doesn't work because of the Null Rods.
yeah, it's not going to do a lot. But
Does he have a Hercules?
yeah, every once in a while you'll catch someone, they'll mental misstep your Soul Ring because they forget.
Oh, funny.
It's worth casting, I think, if
Sure.
you're really doing nothing else. So this is going to be a Reejerey.
Reejerey, yeah.
Yeah, this game is...
Wow.
So this is the spot I was talking about where
Yeah, Gristlebrand's too late.
Gristlebrand would not
Island
be
Walk.
fast enough.
Well, yeah.
Well, the Reejerey or the Island Walk or whatever.
Yeah. So Merfolk creatures are +1/+1 from the Reejerey, and whenever he casts a Merfolk, he can tap or untap something. And now there's a Grafdigger's Cage too. Underground Sea. Yeah, Cavern has just destroyed that draw.
Oh yeah, I mean.
All right, Joel evens it up, a game apiece. Greg had a handful of Permission. Not surprising in a deck with 15 of them.
Yeah.
Joel had a pair of Caverns. It took a while. Like, it was just that Curse Catcher for a couple of turns there. But, I mean, the two mental missteps were big early, too, right? He stopped an Ancestral.
I'm surprised.
He stopped a Pithing Needle.
I'm surprised that these Oath decks don't play. I think when I played Oath, last time I played Oath of the Tournament, I played like 3 Preordains, just because this deck just has no way to dig. If it doesn't have Oath in its opening hand, it's probably not drawing it. You know, it has the Demonic and Vampiric Tutor, but
Yeah, it wants to play Draw Go. 15 counterspells.
Yeah,
It's just like, I'll trade you, I'll trade 1-for-1, trade, and then draw this ridiculous Oath card. That
Right.
is just like infinite threat all
so
in
this is
one
kind of what
2-mana
we're talking.
spell.
This is kind of like the playing Oath as Aetherling type thing.
Yeah. Except it costs 2.
Right.
Ever.
But that does not work as well against this fish deck. Which is kind of weird because it's Oath. You think it's
Yeah, you think it'd be good against the creature
good
deck.
against creatures, and I think it's fine.
It just
but,
needs to come down
but it's
right
not,
away.
This is not a deck that's really.
It's not the sweeper. It's the, if I play this on turn 2, you do not have time.
He's not He hasn't built his deck in a way such that it maximizes his chance of actually getting an Oath of Druids into play.
Fair. We got any updates on the other match? Let's see if we can get you any news on Reed Duke and AJ Grasso.
Yeah, these deck strategies just don't change much after boarding.
They're in game 2, AJ Reynolds.
All right, AJ with a Delver deck splashing for Young Pyromancer has won the first game. Reed down a game. He was down a game in the first
like
matchup.
we said, 4 Mental Misstep, 3 Flusterstorm in the main deck. Pretty nasty against Reed.
Yeah, that is a pretty good Delver list to go up against Storm, isn't it? Yeah. We're gonna have creature decks in the finals.
That's vintage now, man. It's been that
Delver
way for a
and
couple
Merfolk?
years. It's been creatures have really taken over in
Yeah,
vintage.
for me, creatures have taken off. I thought meant like Dark Confidant and Snapcaster Mages are running around.
No.
You've got like 7 2/1s for 2. That's creature decks.
Yeah, vintage has changed a lot. A lot of linear strategies, a lot of hate. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, this Merfolk deck though, it's as much as it plays out like a hate deck sometimes, because of the ability to like get multiple lords into play, plays pretty well against other creature decks.
Sure.
So it's not one of these decks that's like a hate deck, but if you actually played against, if your opponent went land Curd Ape, you wouldn't just be like, oh, I can't beat a Curd Ape. That's not really.
2/3. That guy's gigantic.
Yeah. Greg's hand looked pretty good.
Yep. I think it was show and tell, no threat, but
Of course, he's up against double Force of Will Ancestral Wasteland.
jeez.
Both players pretty strong opening hands.
Yeah, I think he's got the Sapphire and the
And a
Soul Ring.
This is a
It's a lot of acceleration, but what does he do with it? Oh, he's going to Brainstorm. I think it's the Time Vault in there as well.
this is
Pearl
a,
Land, Yawgmoth's Will.
So this is a spot where if Joel can find a Null Rod off this
Yes.
Ancestral,
Yes.
it's going to be big.
Can Greg do... I mean, he's got a bunch of ridiculous cards, but what can he actually do with them? He's resolving a Brainstorm. Looks like he's going to put back
Pearl
the Pearl.
back? Why doesn't he want Pearl? Mox Pearl seems good.
Well, I mean, he'll draw it later.
I guess he just, because he wants to keep Time Vault, he wants to keep a blue card, he wants to keep Show and Tell, he wants to keep Yawgmoth's Well. But I probably...
Yeah, so is this Land Soul Ring Time Vault? No, he's fetching, right? So he's going to reshuffle, and he wanted to keep... He's basically Yawgmoth's Will or Mox Pearl.
Right.
Because he wants to be able to go Land Soul Ring Time Vault.
Is his Brainstorm a miscut? Is he playing a miscut Brainstorm?
I believe he is.
I was trying to figure out what was going on. Like I thought
It's
he had,
miscut,
I
you're
thought he
right.
had accidentally put 2 cards into the graveyard, but it's a miscut. It's probably worth $3,000.
Probably.
Yeah. Fetches up Basic Island, which is
Makes sense against the Wastelands.
right.
There's the Soul Ring.
Though he will not be able to use it to cast Yawgmoth's Will.
And there's the Time Vault.
is kind of
oh,
the
right.
risk.
He has no black mana.
Right.
So he's kept Force of Will, Blue Card, and Yawgmoth's Will.
Right. Which is not really that great.
No, it's like the deck. The hand had a bunch of crazy stuff, but none of it was particularly threatening. Like he's got half of the ridiculous Vault Key combo.
Right.
I mean, he's
know-
one top deck Vault Key away from winning the game completely. Oh, except that Time Vault's going to get Force of Will.
Right.
And Greg is not going to force back. What's this blue card?
Show and Tell.
Yeah, also half a combo.
Right.
Yeah, he drew like half of each of his combos.
Right. And Joel was just like, did he draw?
He's got Black Lotus,
Joel just has everything. Right?
Sapphire. He's already used a Force of Will, pitching a Phantasmal Image. He's got Ancestral. He's going to Ancestral. Does that get Force of Will? You've got to, don't you?
Yeah, the problem
The
is
Show and
that,
Tell's not even good unless you draw Grizzlebrand.
right, but that's just like,
He's down to a Yawgmoth's Will.
now without black mana, I don't understand why he even fetched.
It was the only way to play the Soul Ring. Oh, he
Right,
could have kept the Pearl.
well-
He could have kept the Pearl,
You just don't play the Soul Ring.
and then you can't play the Time Vault either.
Yeah,
I
I
liked
guess you would-
getting the Time Vault out. He could have kept the Pearl, put the fetch land on top, kept the Pearl.
But then he doesn't have. Oh, he drew Grizzlebrand.
Whoa. Having just pitched Show and Tell at Force of Will.
Yeah, I mean, I really-
He top decks Grizzlebrand. That's crazy.
I really wasn't sure on the stopping the Ancestral, because isn't that your way to win the Show and Tell? I mean, this is how his deck wins, by getting Grizzlebrand into play. Like,
Yeah, but there's 2 cards in the deck. He's just drawing blind with 2 outs.
but that's the only way his deck wins. He only has. That's how the deck is built. What is a Merfolk deck going to do with 2 extra cards? Get a 2/2? I mean, especially because you. Yeah, I don't know. It's easy to say. Oh, he drew.
He drew a replacement.
Wow.
That's why.
That is why. Unreal.
Let's go to Show and Tell. Class, what did you guys bring for Show and Tell? Joel says,
Oh.
no, not interested in the Show and Tell thing you speak of.
Oh,
I
wow.
am interested in sacking Black
that
Lotus
is a timely Black Lotus.
to hard cast a Force of Will. Yeah, he did not have a blue card, but Black Lotus gave him the 5th mana. Effectively, he get to pitch Black Lotus instead of a blue card.
Does he have 2 Wastelands in his hand?
He has at least 1 Wasteland in his hand.
So is a black mana going to be a win here for Greg?
Black mana.
Because he'll be at the Yawgmoth's Will Show and Tell.
Quite possibly.
Or he'll be a mana short still. Oh, no, because he has a fetch. If he drew a fetch.
A fetch land would do it. Forbidden Orchard. Does that do it? Is there mana? He's casting the Yawgmoth's Will.
What is he?
He gets a
But he
creature
can't
from the
play a
Forbidden Orchard.
land. Right?
True. There's. Why shouldn't he have?
So shouldn't he have waited a
Yeah.
turn? So he could cast Show and Tell?
Yes.
Although then he can't play around Curse Catcher.
Oh yeah, he just wants to brainstorm. He's just using Yawgmoth's Will to get the brainstorm.
Or he's going to cast Time Vault.
That would work too. He doesn't have the key. I feel like you're only taking one a turn. It's got to be tempting to wait
Yeah.
until you can Show and Tell. He needs to wait for 2 lands though, because he's going to have to be able to pay for Curse Catcher.
He's about to lose his Forbidden Orchard. So he can't actually play this and say go. He has to cast it.
Yeah, so
now.
he's never going to Yawgmoth's Will Show and Tell. That is not happening. Not against double wasteland.
He could draw a fetch land.
Okay.
And then he play the
Not
fetch.
activate it. That's okay. But now you need another one still. No. Like he played a land and he's still too short
Oh, because of Curse Catcher.
because of Curse Catcher.
Right.
So he got the Curse Catcher sacked. That's kind of good news. He pays for it, and now he gets a Brainstorm, which is basically all he was going to get to do anyway. Comes up with a land, and a Force of Will.
That is not good.
No, well, all those lands died of Force of Will. His opponent's down to nothing. He's got some time. That's the good
He
news.
does have plenty of time. If
Grizzlebrand goes back. And I lost track of the other card. One of the lands, I guess? Yeah, Forbidden Orchard, Wasteland.
the unusual wasteland at end of your turn.
Doesn't care what he's going to draw. Yeah. Joel's hand is another Wasteland, the third of the game, and an island. He still has the beatdown plan, though. And he's got the 1/1.
You'd think if you played Oath of Druids in every tournament for the past 2 years you played in, you'd finally remember to bring the tokens for your Forbidden Orchard.
He's got like 4 dice. Feeds an Underground to Wasteland.
Why did he even play that?
Because he's got to plow through him. He's got more land in his hand. He doesn't know there's yet another Wasteland coming.
Well, it's in play.
No, it's in his hand.
Oh, no, but there was one in play. But,
Yeah, he's plowed his way through all the Wastelands he knew about.
yeah. Is that a waterfront monster? What did he just draw?
I think Lord of Atlantis. Yep,
Oh, yeah,
there's Lord of Atlantis. So now he's up to 3 power. Grizzlebrand.
There's that Grizzlebrand.
Right,
It
which
was
he had
coming.
put there with the Brainstorm. So Tropical. He's going to hold the Tropical. He doesn't want to draw an Oath and not have a green source.
Right.
So he's playing in fear that his opponent might be holding a Wasteland, which is in fact true.
Well, this is definitely correct, I think. To not play this, you just have to hope to top deck the Oath.
Takes 3, down to 11. Draws Fetch Land.
Yeah.
You can play that one.
Now his Brainstorm is removed from the game. If he draws the second Grizzlebrand here, it's gonna really be tough.
He's got to find the last Show and Tell.
Yeah.
And that's assuming he's gone through 2 of them, if I'm not mistaken.
I assume he has Jace in his deck.
Oh,
still,
right.
But,
Of course.
yeah, and this is just one of those vintage games where no one really has much going, and it takes quite a while.
Yeah, Greg had a collection of individually ridiculous cards, but it was like half of the Show and Tell combo, half of the Vault Key combo, like Yawgmoth's Will without enough mana to really take advantage of it. It was a shockingly awkward draw given how powerful the cards were individually.
Yeah, and I'm still not sure you fight against Ancestral Recall against a deck that's trying to Ancestral into 2/2s. I'm just not sure it's worth it.
Yeah, if he lets the Ancestral resolve, then he could have showed and telled earlier.
I mean, obviously it's a long shot, but
Yeah.
he didn't need to draw Grizzlebrand that turn. He could have drawn Grizzlebrand multiple turns, especially because none of the hate cards in Joel's deck, like Null Rod, Grafdigger's Cage, none of those really stop you from doing the Show and Tell plan.
Right.
Although actually it's possible he was just tight enough on mana where Null Rod would actually shut it down, especially with the Curse Catcher in play, which is the situation we had at the time. So,
All right, well, Greg's at 8. Joel
that-
passes the turn back.
yeah, because that's the real worry with letting him Ancestral is that it lets him get to those, his Force of Wills, his Grafdigger's Cages, his Null Rods. The stuff that's going to make it so that your Grizzlebrand never even makes it.
Fetch land gets Underground Sea. Greg not interested in top decking land here. He kind of needs some action. That whole Yawgmoth's Will for Brainstorm plan didn't really work out.
No, just Brainstorm locked himself.
Right.
Flusterstorm?
And plays the Tropical. Joel's turn. Wasteland, your green mana. Well, Abrupt Decay, Lord of Atlantis. That's why he was willing to risk the green mana, as he felt like, I got to Abrupt Decay. And he did. He's right. It slows the tempo down dramatically. Now he's got like 7 turns.
Based on what's happened in this game so far, he's going to draw with the Druids right now. That mental misstep? Can't tell.
Might have been Days.
No, he doesn't have days.
Oh, sorry, right. It's Joel that has Days. Alright, Cavern to make the merfolks uncounterable.
Mindbreak trapped it.
Does that work?
Yeah. Mindbreak trap doesn't counter it, removes it from the game. Or something like that.
Hilarious.
Exiles it. So yeah, you can...
It beats Cavern.
Mindbreak trap actually beats Cavern, interestingly enough. So it does seem over dramatic to Mindbreak trap a Marrow Reachery. Oh, that's brutal.
Now he's down to 2 mana.
Yeah,
wow.
that is going to make this real tough.
That 1/1 Forbidden Orchard token is going to go all the way.
So, but he's going to force a will.
Yeah, he has to.
Oh,
he
yeah. I agree.
has to force a will to Null Rod. Cannot afford to have merely 2 mana. Still has to draw an answer. I mean,
yeah.
Joel Lim is attacking in his deck full of Merfolk. He's attacking with a Spirit.
I mean, he's got the Merfolk he can't cast and play, but now he's got it now.
All right.
Waterfront Bouncer is a Merfolk? I didn't even know that.
Yes.
I guess it should have occurred to me when it's in the Merfolk deck. That's actually game, right? Because now Gristlebrand can't block next turn.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess he can counter the Waterfront Bouncer here. He basically needs to counter Waterfront Bouncer. Does he have another Hardcast Force to Will in his hand? I've forgotten what his hand is.
To be clear, by the way, Waterfront Bouncer was printed as a shapeshifter, but it has been errata to be a Merfolk shapeshifter.
Oh.
Or not shapeshifter, Spell Shaper. Yeah, printed as just a Spell Shaper, but...
So his really only out here now is to force a will Waterfront Bouncer, untap, draw Show and Tell.
Well, he forced the Bouncer. He untapped. He drew Voltaic Key.
That's it.
And there's the hand. Wow. Joel Lim is through to the finals. Real fish.
A Waterfront Bouncer, I had no idea.
Yeah, there was this elaborate, like, great creature type overhaul.
Right,
and like, all the Oracle creatures were put to the creature types that they should have had if they were reprinted.
This has made cube drafting complicated.
Yeah.
Because there's no new edition of Waterfront Bouncer. So now that's one I did not know about. Like, I knew that...
Game 3 of the other semifinal. Reed Duke is on the left of your screen. He's resolving Cabal Ritual. That's got to be a good sign. Although, I only see 5 cards in his graveyard. So that is less of a good sign. His opponent has a Grafdigger's Cage in play. So the graveyard and any potential Yawgmoth's Will shenanigans are dead.
Alright, and he has no cards in his hand. And usually you want to be Yawgmoth's Willing at that point. And there's
Flusterstorm shuts down Grim Tutor. There's the hand. Reed Duke's run ends in the semifinals. And AJ Grasso, Delver, is in the finals.